For 3 days, I tailed him relentlessly. His routine was, quite frankly, sickeningly normal. He'd head out at exactly 7 a.m. for his morning run, returning home 30 minutes later for breakfast. By 8:30 a.m., he was off to the office. He'd clock out at 5:30 p.m., meet me for dinner, and be back home by 8. Once he was inside, he didn't step foot out again. He'd spend the evening playing a few rounds of online games with me, then bury himself in company reports until the lights went out at 11 p.m. sharp. His schedule was more disciplined than a retiree's. During office hours, I'd managed to secure his executive assistant's cooperation with a high-end designer gift card. Her reports were always the same. Cooper was working hard, only pausing during his lunch break to video chat with his family. The conclusion seemed airtight. Where else could you find a man this wealthy, this handsome, and completely free of vices? No smoking, no gambling, no womanizing, and absolutely no party lifestyle. Just as I was ready to call off the investigation, my phone buzzed. It was the executive assistant. She told me he'd just driven out of the parking garage, all by himself, in the middle of the workday. I saw his car pull out of the lot and flagged down a cab, keeping a tight distance. Could it be? Was the shark finally about to show its teeth? I trailed him out of the city, eventually pulling up to Terminal 4 at JFK. He parked the car and headed straight for the arrivals level. I paid the cab driver and scrambled toward the elevators, keeping my distance. I didn't dare get too close. By the time I reached the terminal, he had already vanished into the throng of people. The terminal was a chaotic hive of travelers. Tracking him down felt like an impossible task. Just as I was ready to throw in the towel, I spotted him. He looked effortlessly suave in a long grey trench coat, standing near the international arrivals gate. A girl pushed her luggage cart through the sliding doors. She had her hair pulled into a messy bun and wore a flowing white sundress. Her lips were painted a bright plump red, and she wore a dazzling smile. The moment she saw him, she abandoned the cart and threw herself into his arms. He caught her, pulling her into a tight embrace, his hands smoothing over her back with a tenderness I'd never seen before. My heart turned to ice. They clung to each other for a long moment. Then he pulled back, cupping her face in his elegant hands and whispering something into her ear. Tears began to spill down her cheeks. Even I, a composed English literature professor who spent her days shaping young minds, couldn't rein in my fury. I stormed over and planted myself in front of them, my pulse hammering against my temples. "Cooper Hamilton, I hope you're proud of yourself," he whipped around. His eyes widened, his jaw went tight, and for a split second he was completely speechless. The girl looked up at me, her expression shrinking into one of fragile confusion. She was undeniably striking, with a delicate porcelain beauty that was almost painful to behold. But her face, it looked familiar. I racked my brain, desperate for the connection. Finally it clicked. So, that's who she is. She looks just like me. Well, maybe not a carbon copy, but there's a solid 50% resemblance. She stands about 5'5" taller and leaner than me. Her chest is board flat, but she has a tiny waist and legs that go on for days, giving her that fragile, high-fashion aesthetic. But our eyes? Large, almond-shaped. Our brows? Perfectly arched. Our noses? Petite and button-like. Our mouths? Small, rosebud lips. There were traces of me in her features, or rather, traces of her in mine. No wonder Cooper Hamilton never looked at me with any real desire. He was obsessed with the girl standing right in front of me. I was nothing more than a placeholder, a shadow, a bargain bin stand-in. The kind of trashy, melodramatic plot you'd only see in a soap opera was playing out in real life, and the irony burned. Life really is stranger than fiction. What a total jerk. I've always had a firecracker temper, and if I'm going down, I'm not going down quietly. I lunged forward, grabbed his designer tie, and shoved him against the wall. My knuckles were white with fury. Cooper Hamilton, I've wasted 2 years of my life on a snake like you. That's like throwing a 5-star meal in the trash. I used to be more volatile, but 2 years of teaching English literature had mellowed me out. If it had been my college self, I wouldn't have just shoved him. I would have made sure he lost his position at the firm. Cooper gripped my wrists, his jaw clenching as he stared at me in disbelief. Before he could speak, the girl in the flowy white summer dress batted her wide eyes at me, her voice soft as silk. You must be my sister-in-law, right? I'm Carter Hamilton. I'm his sister. She gestured toward Cooper. Oh, please! Cooper, how many sisters do you actually have? I pulled back, smoothing my hair and pacing the small space, my breath coming in jagged bursts. A crowd was already forming, and I wanted the whole world to see this two-timing coward get exactly what he deserved. Carter let out a soft melodic laugh. Sister-in-law, my brother only has one sister. Save the act. Sister in public, something else behind closed doors? I wasn't buying her innocent routine. Carter blushed, but quickly composed herself. Mom and Dad were busy today, so they asked my brother to pick me up from the airport. Look, here is our family portrait. She pulled out her phone and shoved the screen in my face. The wallpaper was a family photo featuring a middle-aged couple, and both of them. Carter looked radiant, and the look Cooper gave her, it was filled with such adoration, such devotion. It looked exactly like a brother doting on his sister. Could it really be? I froze, my breath hitching. You two are actually siblings? Carter looked just as confused by my question, but she nodded quickly. Yes, we're siblings. I let out a long, shaky breath as the reality sank in. My grand confrontation had just imploded. I'd caused a scene in public only to realize I was busy accusing my husband of cheating with his own sister.